Sacco and Feliz, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFeliz.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Attention Ditto Heads.
I knew that saying.
Attention Bo Scouts.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
It's time for the Soul of Excellence.
He is a radio host here in New York.
The Rush Hour is on the air.
Rush.
Now here's James Golden.
These numbers are just atrociously awful. A double A for the Democrats here. I mean, just take a look here. Congressional Dems have the right priorities. Look at this. Overall, 74%, nearly 3 in 4 say no. Just 25% overall say yes. You might say, okay, well, at least Dems like Democrats. Not the case. Look at this. The majority of Democrats are independents who lean Democrats. Look at this. 55% say no, congressional Democrats do not have the right priorities. And then you just see a minority, 45% of Democrats say that congressional Democrats have the right priorities. This to me just jumps out at the screen because it screams primary challenges all over the map.
Welcome, my friends, to the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. That was Harry Enton from CNN. There's another we have from him about Democrat leaders. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. You might as well play the other one from Harry Enton. You can keep the music going if you want, Carlos. That's cut 2, talking about the leadership.
What's overall approval among Democrats of their leaders?
Yeah, okay. So, you speak about Democrat on Democrat crime, and I want to know how unusual what we're seeing right now about how Democrats feel about Democrats in Congress is. Take a look at this. This is a trend line going back through the years, midterm elections in which there's a GOP president. Look at this. In 2006, Dems' net approval of congressional Democratic leaders was plus 28. You go back to the last midterm, look at that, plus 19. Very much on the positive side of it. The bottom has fallen out. The bottom has fallen out. Minus 4 points. That is Democrats' own net approval of their own congressional leaders. Even Democrats don't like their own leaders when it comes to Congress. And overall, of course, the numbers are just absolutely awful. So Democrat on Democrat crime, absolutely. This, to me, screams, again, primary challenges across the map. And it screams to me, hey, when it comes to those next leadership elections, maybe something might be cooking.
That's right. The next leadership elections for the Republican Party could be interesting too, especially in the Senate, if they know what's going on. A lot to report on today, folks. Let's spend a minute near the beginning with the story that I am still so upset about. This story took place in New York yesterday. For those of you in New York, you know what I'm going to talk about. The gunman who opened fire into a crowd in Brooklyn killed a 7-month-old baby. This baby, I mean, reports today, she had just started walking, taken her first steps. Well, I don't know what the first steps, but she had said her first word, mama. And it's insane. Armani Green, 21, was taken into custody on that after the moped he was riding on crashed a few blocks away from the scene. His accomplice and he were thrown from the bike, and he was injured in the crash. He is allegedly the trigger man of Kiori Patterson Moore, struck in the head, 7-month-old. Her 2-year-old brother was also injured in this. He's gotten less attention because of the horrific nature of it. She and her mom and the the daddy of the children, the father of the children, her fiance, are taking their 2 kids out to get baby supplies when all this happened. And there's a video that's been released of the mother in the bodega when she found out that her child had been hit. There is a friend and neighbor of the father heard screaming outside, raced outside to find more shaking, quaking, fear, and outrage. My daughter got shot. My daughter got shot. The son was crying, well, this is my sister. I want my mom. I want my mom. And, of course, to no avail. There was a day in New York where if you did this kind of thing, you were guaranteed a trip up to Sing Sing, and it was a one-way trip. You weren't coming back. These days, you have to wonder whether some progressive judge will look at the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator here, and find a sympathetic story and find a reason to be lenient. It is just so horrible, and the horror doesn't end there. Yesterday, I talked to you about another incident that happened in North Carolina. Today, we have one in Atlanta. A 7-year-old boy shot 3 times when gunfire ripped through his house in southwest Atlanta. Another one of these drive-by shootings with these criminal, and folks, and I know, it is not only a criminal matter, it is also a cultural matter. And some people don't want to talk about it because it can tend to be offensive, and I understand that very, very, very well. But when you look at where these murders are occurring, who they are occurring to, the victims, who are the perpetrators, in many of them, not all of them, I don't even know whether it's fair to say most of them, although I think that in certain instances, depending on where you live, certainly it would be most of them. There is a cultural aspect to this that is not being addressed. And that is why this behavior seems to have settled into one demographic. Yeah, one demographic so often. And so say it in plain language, James, and stop dancing around it. How come so many black and brown men, young men in their teens and early 20s are caught up in this lifestyle, this gang lifestyle, this criminal lifestyle? Why is it happening so much? Southwest Atlanta, don't have to say a word. You already know. I know. You go to certain areas in Queens and Brooklyn, I know. You know. If you go to certain cities around the country and you identify certain neighborhoods that these things happen, I know. You know. And why has this become why has it is called in certain circles the game, in other circles the life, the street life, the life? Why has this been allowed to settle in to generations of a culture unchecked? It needs to be addressed, and it needs not only to be addressed, it needs to be corrected, not just for the good of the culture, but for the good of the country. And the people that participate. Here's another one. There's another culture out here, too. California sanctuary law under fire again after a notorious M13 machete-wielding gangster known as the Witch has been nabbed for the second time in the state after being caught and released during the Biden administration back in 2023. They have arrested David Antonio Alvarez Perez, 35, wanted in El Salvador for aggravated murder. He was first arrested and released in Monterey, California in 2023, suspicion of assault with a deadly weapon after swinging a machete at a man. They're here. These criminals, that's another distinct culture that is here. Illegal immigrants with a violent history that were sent here purposefully. Trump talks about that, and I think because of who is talking about it, the words come up empty. So when he says they released our jails, they released the jails, they released people from these jails, they released people from the people here that, and it's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. That's Trump again. But it really happened. You had entire states releasing the worst of their population to flood into the United States because we had open borders. And they have brought chaos, havoc, murder, and all sorts of things with them. Another culture. There are cultures in subcultures, if you please, within our society that have been allowed to grow, to fester, to multiply, and they need to be dealt with for the good of the nation. We'll be back. We have some things to other discuss. The blonde bombshell. I'm going to miss her appearances at congressional hearings, watching her take apart Democrats. I'm going to miss that. Pam Bondi gone as Attorney General. Birthday today for Leon Wilkinson, bassist for Leonard Skinner, 1974, of course. You would think that this song went to number 1 on the charts, the way it plays and lives now. It went as high as number 8. It was never number 1. But it has outlived so many other songs and become so popular. It's kind of a number 1 anyway, in many people's mind. Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. He passed away in Mr. Wilkinson in 2001. Apparently he had a chronic liver and lung disease that went unchecked. James Golden Snerdley, keep it right here. Fastest hour in American media.
Rush.
This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
James Golden and Snerdley here with you. It is the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Okay, you know Pam Bondi is gone. Now, what else can I say that's already been said? I mean, the rockiness of the way the Epstein file stuff was rolled out, et cetera, et cetera. But the Daily Mail has the story today, and let me find the quote. Here's the quote that I find interesting, and I don't know whether this has been verified anywhere else. Trump's reasoning for the sudden dismissal comes in part because the president believes Bondi tipped off Eric Swalwell about the FBI's effort to release investigative documents related to his relationship with an alleged Chinese spy. That would be Fang Fang, the Fang Fang files. And Democrats are still raising hell over the fact that they could be released. I don't know why. I think they would help Swalwell. She's intervening in those matters. The White House wasn't pleased. She was intervening due to her personal friendship with Swalwell. This is the first time I've heard that she had a friendship with Swalwell. Swalwell, a fellow lawyer, has openly criticized her since she took the AG position after failing to prosecute multiple death threats against him and his family. But I saw one of those hearings and she told him, hey, send me the information. We're not going to tolerate that kind of stuff. So who knows? I don't know whether this is or not. But Pam Bondi going, a lot of people on the right and the left are happy. I'm not among the happy. I'm going to miss her during congressional hearings because she actually was just threw firebombs at Democrats when they tried to do their usual act, smearing Republicans, and she wouldn't tolerate it. Was I happy with the Epstein stuff? No. But you have to keep in mind that I'm not a big Epstein file guy anyway. Yes. Oh, well, I thought you wanted to make a point. Yes, okay. We have to talk about this birthright citizenship issue, which is all part of the SCOTUS case yesterday, oral arguments. There is analysis from people like Jonathan Turley. And by the way, Jonathan Turley echoed something that I said yesterday. Of course, he's brilliant, came up with it on his own. He doesn't listen here, I'm sure. But I just feel good that I had come up with the same analysis that Jonathan Turley did. Because he's so brilliant. And Peter Schweitzer has weighed in. And we went back and dug out some news stories, including one from the year 2020 on birthright citizenship. So we'll talk about that. And there are other things in the news with which we should acquaint ourselves with before leaving today. So please stay right here.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
The notorious street gang MS-13. There's a high-profile federal trial going on right now here in Las Vegas. 3 MS-13 members are on trial here, accused of 11 killings in Nevada and California. Prosecutors say these gang members went out hunting for people to kill. This is a sketch from the review journal of those 3 members. At least some of them. We're showing them one by one here. We're told that one of the victims died after allegedly being stabbed, get this, more than 200 times.
The people that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris let in the nation. James Golden, Snerdley. Macron, the French, are really angry with Donald Trump. They are so mad. Donald Trump talked about Macron. He said, I called up France, Macron, whose wife treats him extremely badly. He's still recovering from the right to the jaw. Now, those of you who will remember there was a photograph of Macron being smacked around by his wife. The room that he went into convulsions of laughter. And then he did the impression of Macron. No, I cannot do that. No, we can do that. The war is won. No, I don't need them, he says, after the war is won, Emmanuel. And then he said, and he went on to talk about NATO. So I learned about NATO. NATO won't be there if we ever have the big one. And you know what I mean by the big one. The French are very, very upset. Yabron privé. the head of France's lower house of government, said, honestly, this is not up to par. This is not up to par. And she added, we're currently discussing the future of the world, and we have a president who's laughing, who is mocking others. No, he's mocking your guy. Even the left, hard leftist guy over there, Emmanuel Macron, he and Macron apparently are not good friends. He said, you are aware of the extent of my disagreement with the president, but for Donald Trump to speak to him like that, and to speak of his wife in such a manner, I find that absolutely unacceptable. Well, what are you going to do? Trump is Trump. All right, birthright. I mentioned that I had a few things for you. Case Supreme Court, the oral arguments didn't seem to move the justices at all. So, let's check in. And I said yesterday, look, folks, this is going to have to be dealt with. And apparently the only way to deal with it is going to be with legislation, a constitutional amendment, most likely. And I don't know whether people have the political will to wage that war, wage that fight. Here is Jonathan Turley, cut 3 on Fox News with number 1 cut.
I don't know anyone who believes that the framers would have embraced what we have today. We have become the world ship of fools. I mean, you have China that is virtually mocking us. They have hundreds of these companies that solely arrange for Chinese citizens to give birth in the United States. It's done in the open, and it's making us into a laughingstock. But it also has robbed us of control over what it means to be a citizen in this country. The day is not over for the government. It's still possible that they could win, but this was not a promising oral argument in that sense. So we have to look at where we go from here. And many of us believe we need to deal with this problem, and that may require a constitutional amendment.
And that's what I said yesterday. I agree. Here, Turley had more to say. Let's go to cut 4. This is more of Jonathan Turley.
The idea that you can set foot on this soil, give birth to a baby, and become a citizen, that is an insane argument. And I agree with John Sauer that it is applicable, even though it is not a legal argument. Your thoughts, Professor Turley?
Well, Kaylee, it's never good, either on a first date or a Supreme Court argument, to start out with the other person saying you're awfully quirky. That was a gulp moment for the government, and it didn't get much better after that. The fact is, you're perfectly correct. I mean, the fact that we are one of the few countries that continues to embrace birthright citizenship is perfectly insane. And it is a great danger to this government and to this republic. So the question for these justices is not necessarily if they agree with birthright citizenship. I expect the majority does not. But this is what I call in my Supreme Court class a default case. It's when the record is messy. Where do the justices run home to? And what was really astonishing yesterday is it appeared that we might have 9 originalists on the court, because the liberal justices started to channel Scalia and to say, oh, we've got to stick with the original intent here. These are justices, when they look at other rights like the Second Amendment, treat that language as barely a speed bump. And they say, well, we have to look at this living Constitution and the problems we're facing today. Well, the problems we're facing today on birthright citizenship are existential in my view.
Yeah, and I just got a text, and I'm going to just read it. The birthright citizenship issue was about producing a citizen baby, waiting it out. Baby gets to be 21 years old, and that child files papers for chain migration of the entire family. And the person sending me this text says he's watched this in his community. Cared for many families that do it. This is why they push unaccompanied minors over the border. So the wait is shorter. When they get legalized, they chain migrate the rest of the family. Then they tap into Medicaid, Social Security. Yep. Meanwhile, many of them work, for cash. And they send billions of untaxed money outside of the United States of America. Now, to that regard, I want to play something for you from the year 2020, 6 years ago. It is not from some quote-unquote right-wing source. This is from CBS News, a report. In 2020, cut 7, Carlos, it speaks for itself, and those of you living on Long Island and in New York, pay extra close attention, please.
Crackdown on an alleged anchor baby ring on Long Island. Prosecutors say more than 100 pregnant women from Turkey came here to give birth, so their children were instantly granted U.S. citizenship.
Investigators say the women then used benefits like Medicaid. CBS 2's Carolyn Gussoff reports from Suffolk County.
An alert Smithtown town employee noticed a strange pattern of birth certificates, 5 babies from one house at one time. An investigation led to an international fraud scheme, an alleged birth tourism ring operating on Long Island for 3 years.
The defendants fraudulently facilitated the births in the United States of approximately 119 Turkish children. And those children now hold birthright U.S. citizenship.
It's the 14th Amendment that grants citizenship to any child born in the U.S. Officials say in this case, ringleaders brazenly advertised in Turkey. Translation, if you believe your baby should be born in the USA and become an American citizen, you're in the right place. What's illegal, alleged lies to obtain travel visas, fraudulent Medicaid claims for babies and moms who stayed at 7 birth houses across Suffolk County. Women paid up to $10,000 each for accommodations and free health care paid by U.S. taxpayers.
They're doing it on the backs of the taxpayers. They're milking the Medicaid system. 6
people arrested, charged with money laundering and $2 million in Medicaid fraud. Birth tourism has gotten the president's attention, who recently closed some loopholes.
It is estimated that over 30,000 childbirths occurred in the United States last year alone in connection with this practice.
Prosecutors say the arrests are not about stopping immigration, but those who game the system.
The desire to have your child born in the United States is understandable, but the methods and means employed by these criminals were both unlawful, completely unacceptable.
Medical care in the homes is questionable. Prosecutors say the defendants are selfish.
Well, it's still going on. You got the gist of that report. Let's go quickly to cut 6. Will Kane on this.
About birth tourism. 23. It's booming. In 2023, over 300,000 babies were born to unauthorized or legal temporary immigrant mothers. Add that in total. It's 9% of the U.S. births in that given year. When we look at how that shakes out over time, a clear spike in the number of births to unauthorized immigrant mothers in the United States from 2019 to 2023. That's unprecedented. It's unforeseen. It's undeniable. But Chief Justice Roberts, unconvinced.
It certainly wasn't a problem in the 19th century.
No, but of course, we're in a new world now, as Justice Alito pointed out, to where 8 billion people are one plane ride away from having a child who's a U.S. citizen.
Well, it's a new world. It's the same Constitution.
They just dismissed it. Who cares? Okay, Peter Schweitzer on Fox, cut 5. Same issue, the birthright citizenship.
The Chinese government believes that every year for the past 13 years, Maria, roughly 100,000 Chinese babies have been born in the United States that are then taken back to China, raised in China. When they turn 18, they're going to be U.S. citizens. They can vote in elections, donate to political campaigns, get government jobs. That's more than 1 million voters. Remember that 2016 election was settled by 80,000 votes. So it's a massive exploitation of our immigration laws. Other entities like the Muslim Brotherhood and the Mexican government are doing the same sort of thing.
Do you understand what is at risk here? Apparently the justices on the Supreme Court, some of them, like Roberts, don't get it. Okay, so you have the births on one end. Let's go back to CBS News. Again, not a right-wing outfit. Cut 9. So on one end, you have the births. On the other end, you have this.
2 weeks after a CBS News investigation into hospice care fraud in California, Congress is now probing the issue. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee on Monday said it wants Governor Gavin Newsom to send over all documents related to how the state detects and prevents fraud in these federally funded programs. In a letter to Newsom, lawmakers allege fraudulent activity could be costing taxpayers millions. CBS News looked into some 1,800 hospice facilities in Los Angeles County. Our reporting found more than 700 trigger multiple red flags for potential fraud based on warning signs outlined in a 2022 state audit of the industry. CBS News correspondent.
And this report goes on. I'm going to play it in total, but now I want you to go to the Fox report from this morning, cut 10, and you have this.
William Lajeunesse has more from Covina, California. That's just east of L.A. You've been on this story for a while. What happened?
Good morning, Dana. Yeah, this is the first takedown for the new White House Fraud Task Force. They arrested 2 owners of 2 hospices here in greater Los Angeles. They're accused of collectively stealing about $16 million from taxpayers. And this money was intended, right, for compassionate end-of-life care for the terminally ill. Here's some video we shot earlier today of the FBI making those arrests of a husband and wife. He a doctor, she a nurse, co-owners of the St. Francis Palliative Care Hospice in Glendale. And what they were doing was this, admitting people who were not qualified for hospice, but billed the government as if they were. About $30,000 per patient. When the benefits ran out, they dropped them. Here's the kicker. Nationally, 80% of adults admitted, or people admitted to hospice die, and usually in the first few weeks. Here, almost nobody died. After 8 months, 97% left alive.
They've been bilking the taxpayers for over $7 million, close to $8 million, and it's all total fraudulent hospice services. They were signing up people who are not terminally ill. They were forging the documents, the medical records, and they were collecting taxpayer dollars. And they've been charged, and this morning they were arrested.
Here's another arrest down in Topanga Hospice, and here they were paying kickbacks to the patients, giving them $600 a month in an envelope. That's because they were getting reimbursed from the feds about $6,000 a month. Now, they are also paying marketers to find seniors and take their Medicare card. They bilked the government for about $8 million, not eligible, and they were not terminally ill.
The name of this endeavor is Project Never Say Die.
Look, folks, we're talking billions here. Billions. And you know how this started? I want to remind you again, this didn't start from the powerful news organizations. This didn't start from the Washington Post, the New York Times. No, my friends. This started with a guy who posts on the internet walking around to these locations where these places are with a camera, knocking on doors. Are these people here? And what did the governor of California do? He tried to smear the guy. The guy's name is Nick Shirley. I also want to just mention, by the way, there's another hero. Final charges dismissed against David Daleiden. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Daleiden. But I could be wrong, and if I am, the pronunciation, this is the guy that exposed to the world what Planned Parenthood was doing, selling baby parts from aborted fetuses. And who came after him? Kamala Harris and the state of California tried to make him a criminal for his exposés. All these years later, the final bogus criminal charges against him have been dismissed and his case completely expunged. Harris tried to put him in jail for exposing Planned Parenthood. Selling human baby parts. Never forget that. B.B. Dickerson passed away on this day in, 2021. Founding member of WOA. A low rider, why can't we be friends? Cisco Kid, The World is a Ghetto. So many hits from War. James Golden Snerdley, coming right back. Don't go away.
Rush.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Bo Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush.
Now, here's James Golden.
We left the show yesterday with a medley of Marvin Gaye because it was the anniversary, April 1st, of him being shot dead by his father, Marvin Gaye Sr., in 1984. We're going to leave you with Marvin again today because today is the anniversary of Marvin Gaye's birth. Singer, songwriter, I heard it through the grapevine, was a member of the Moonglows before he joined up with Motown. We all just simply say Marvin. It's Marvin. May God bless and protect each and every single one of you, your families, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are all back together for the Friday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. By the way, condolences to Bob Law's family, radio broadcaster, New York. We got to go. May God bless, protect each and every one of you. God willing, see you tomorrow. I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Let me tell you about ProHealthConnect.com. It's transforming healthcare payments, providing retailers a seamless process for over-the-counter and healthy benefit programs. By connecting retailers, health plans, and payment processors, ProHealth Connect creates one powerful, unified network. They empower independent grocers and pharmacies to accept health benefit cards without changing how they do business. With over 10,000 locations nationwide, helping more than 1.3 million people access the care and nutrition they need. Go to ProHealthConnect.com.